All right, today I am with Julia Leyland, who plays Larissa in the remote office. Julia, what's happening? How you doing? Welcome
Oh,
for
hello.
joining. All that good stuff. I hate formal intros, so that's like the most formal thing I'll do. Um, Tell us a little bit about twofold question.
Yeah.
You as Julia, as the actress, a little bit about you, about sort of your journey, what you've done, and then maybe off of that springboard into a bit about the character of Larissa and maybe explain sort of who she is at her core.
Okay, gosh, I got to think now. Me, who am I? I'm Julia. Very, very quickly, I have been acting for almost 9 years. Is that right?
Just
Oh
round
my,
it up and call it a decade. It feels
no, we don't do that. I came into acting fairly late. I was 33 when I started acting. I was a teacher before that. Um, So yeah, I think from when I started, it's just been the most awesome, life altering in every possible way, positive experience, alongside obviously all the trauma that comes with being an actor and judgment and failure and vulnerability, etc., etc. But aside from that, best decision ever made. I have done a little bit of theatre, lots of independent films. Had my first TV experience just at the end of last year on Finding Alice, working with Keely Hawes. That was really awesome. Do lots of lovely things like this, working with Ashley and other brilliant creatives on fun, interesting things, mostly things that Ashley has written and directed and produced,
only
etc.
twice. That's only two times for now. I could stop if you want. I could stop. That's fine. I'll stop.
No, 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 no.
What did you think of the Larissa character when we first sort of started talking about it? And how would you describe her, I guess, first and foremost? Is she massively different to you? Like, what are the similarities or differences there?
I think that Larissa is probably practicing more the lifestyle that I would preach to others how they should live. In terms of the Zenness, I think very similar. Larissa loves to yoga. She meditates. She's very Zen. She's very self-aware. She's very spiritual. She has the ethos, what will be, and what happens for a reason, and you don't always have to react impulsively or negatively, but you can sit with it and
But
respond.
you don't.
And I try to do that. I feel like Larissa has perhaps made that leap a bit more successfully. I definitely try. There's similarities. I do try.
I mean, it is Larissa's job.
Yes,
So, like, she has to practice what she preaches, otherwise she ain't getting paid.
that's
Um,
true.
to be fair, maybe you should make this a side hustle.
Yeah, I should do.
I mean, you do, don't you? You do a bit of Reiki and stuff like that, or have I made that up?
Yeah, no, I've trained at Reiki too. I don't really do it very much though, unless people ask, friends, family, that kind of thing. But not as a business. It was too. I don't know. It shouldn't be stressful. I found it stressful. Trying to promote anything holistic is hard because you don't feel like you want to charge for it.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. Trying to promote anything can be hard, let alone something that maybe is supposed to be, you know,
it's a bit woo woo.
yeah, for lack of a term, I suppose. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you should tap into Larissa. She has no problem doing that. To be fair, she seems to
Yeah.
charge everybody. Half the characters no seem to be going to her anyway.
Exactly. I think she's definitely much more stronger in her conviction, and she's has real solid belief that that's the right way to be and to live, and I think it works for her. So it was nice tapping into that mindset.
Because when I first wrote her, and I was bashing this together with like all these different characters, the key thing with Larissa is that she's not part of the office and the company. And so
Yeah.
at the beginning, when I wrote her, was sort of like, she still is the moral compass. She was the moral compass to my character. As I've never even figured out if she is like if we're fiance or if it's like married. I've never determined
Yeah.
what their situation is. How do you know?
I put it as engaged.
Yeah, that's
That's
how I
not,
thought. Like I thought they were engaged.
not yet.
Yeah. Okay, fine,
Yeah.
good. We'll just call it that now after we film the whole thing.
Excellent.
But I realized that at the beginning, I don't want to say she was only one or two dimensional, but she wasn't fully fleshed out when we first spoke about her, which I think you'd
Yeah.
probably agree with.
Yeah.
And then we kind of added a few more layers to her to make her more human. I'd be curious to get your view on how you felt that journey and how you felt she became more of a fully rounded character from our first chat to our last, I don't want to say filming session because we didn't really film, it was a Zoom, but our last Zoom
I,
session.
I think because at first it was just her place within everybody else, wasn't it? So it was, well, she's the go-to, she's the yoga instructor, she's the person people offload to, and she was sort of outside the company. She was quite happy, I think, in that position. She could see everything sort of from above, and from the outside, so she could be that voice of reason and balance. And and I think for her, perhaps again, it was, it's just a job, it's just work. So for her, it's trying to get everyone, although there's, when you're really in it, everyone is so invested and emotional, but she's sort of that, it's just work, and you're fine, you're going to be fine. And I think that was the initial part of her. But I think because the whole situation was obviously in lockdown, in this crazy quarantine and this totally new experience, I think even for the most zen and the calmest of people, it has a tipping point where you can only take so much. So I think her perhaps taking on everyone else's issues, her seeing that really there's not really a problem, you'll all find other work. And obviously the whole situation, I don't want to give any spoilers, but the whole situation with Ilya.
Oh no, sorry, with me.
Yeah, just thinking with you and with the company and what she knows, and
Yeah.
just I think that was then another big dynamic of her and being stuck with her mum, who was then injured and not near Ilias, not getting any support. And I think Ilias, being very consumed and wrapped up in this world where she could see there's a really kind of simple solution, but she can't quite, be the one to say that because it's his choice. But so I think that really padded her out, and I think that was then the sort of decline, the kind of natural decline, when you've had enough. Her mum's not well, the hospital have pissed her about, she's losing it, she's starting to get ratty, and she's losing her zen, people are falling around, Alicia's then not going to see her anymore for yoga, so then it's affecting their relationship. There's obviously the stuff going on in the distance with her and Ilias, and then it's like boom.
And I think that was interesting. It's something that when we spoke and we were sort of hashing out who she was as a fuller character, that we came up with those ideas because it was also about giving a good reflection of what was happening at the time, just society, right? Because this is about the remote office working for the most part, and most people can relate to that with this shift. But outside of that, there's other elements beyond just work where people are being impacted. And I think in many ways, she's been a really good conduit to sort of give a nod to some of that too, a little bit. And it was nice. I liked the contradiction of the really super zen person who still was subjected to going through slightly rockier periods, and how does she reconcile that? And it felt like she had more of a journey when we got to that point versus, draft one of the script where it was, and this sounds terrible, but she was Elias's fiance. And like that, and that sounds really bad, but that's kind of the starting point. And then obviously we made it much more interesting than that. And who knows if there's a season 2 where she'll end up.
Exactly. Who knows?
I don't know, because I'm not having any thoughts of that.
That's far away.
Who knows? One step at a time. How did you find the whole acting on Zoom process? Because have you done a few like commercials over Zoom, or am I getting that wrong? Like, have you done any stuff on Zoom before?
No, I'm trying to think. The only thing on Zoom, there's a few auditions on Zoom, which I hate actually.
But we're grateful that we have them because it's better than
There's not been many. Let me just clarify.
Just putting the disclaimer out there as well, in
Yeah.
case anyone who's casting watches and goes, well,
Yeah.
I won't call her in.
Yeah, I think it just makes me miss being in the room more. I think that's the trouble. It's suddenly like, oh, it's so, especially when you've got lots of people involved. But anyway, I think no, that was my only experience of Zoom, is that and courses and classes and.
So when it came to doing this and actually performing in what is kind of like a bit of an elaborate stage play, really, it's like a big rehearsed reading but with improv. How did you find that as an experience, and was there anything that you actually liked in a surprising way that you weren't expecting, and again, anything that technically was a bit like, oh, okay, I gotta get used to this?
I really, really loved doing it. I found that it was fun. It felt like a bit of play, a bit of creativity. I really enjoyed it. And actually, again, once you actually forget the whole Zoom and it's just a conversation, and the fact that we did a bit of improvisation as well, and playing with the script and things, and obviously it's a very relaxed environment. There's no pressure in that respect. I think it was fun. I did really enjoy it. The only aspect of it, I think, which was less enjoyable, and that was because I would stress myself out, was the little inserts and things like that, where
right, sure,
we're on your own and you're moving the camera like this, and I think that's more just because in your head you always have this finished, I don't know, this kind of finished idea, but you're filming on your phone and you have to just let go a bit of it's just me in my kitchen on my phone. It is what it is. So I think, whereas in your mind, it's like this wide screen, there's lights.
I mean, that's what I'm getting whilst editing this, where I'm like, I know it's not Spielberg, but I kind of want it to be looking as good as it can be. And then I get it and I go, yeah, but it's still Zoom. And it's gonna be what it is. And I think I get that, though, being alone and then having to sort of set up these shots when you've never done that before.
Yeah.
But they worked, so you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, but again, and it was good, and I think especially this time to be having your mind focused on something creative was brilliant.
Well, that was a big part of it, right? Like, I think I first started talking to people back in, I want to say September, October, and then we started sort of filming January, February of this year. And it was just something creative to be doing, whilst we sort of knew that most people, wherever they were in the world, were in some kind of restrictions or lock-in. And I think it helped to have some kind of insanity from the insanity that was going on in the real world. So awesome. Okay, I like to wrap these things up like on my podcast with random questions. I got random questions here, but in cue card format. So I'm going to ask 3 or 4, but what I'm asking people to do, answer them as the character. So as Larissa, if there's a difference, how would you answer these? And if the question's garbage, I'm not gonna ask it, and I'll ask something.
Okay.
Yeah, because that was terrible. Okay, here's a Larissa question. In what areas are you happy to be good enough?
In what areas am I happy to be good enough?
Very vague question. Keep it PG.
Keep it PG.
Keep it Larissa.
What areas? Oh, I'm happy to be good enough in relationships with friends and family. That be good enough?
I mean, if you're channeling Larissa, I'm going to channel Elias now, because you said friends and family.
Elias?
It's all right. It's fine. He understands. He gets it. He's not important.
What do you mean good enough, though? Like,
I don't know. It's a vague question.
I don't understand the question. Larissa's like, she's everything. Like, everything is good enough. It's all good, even when it's bad. It's good because there's something to learn. There's always growth. It's highlighting where you need to change something or move on. So yeah, it's all
That felt like a Larissa answer.
All good.
That felt like it. The bit before was like Julia kind of merging into her, and then you kind of found a trigger point.
I'm like, what the frick does this question mean?
Okay, next one. What makes you most stressed? And that could just be the last question that I asked, to be fair.
Yeah. What makes me most stressed? Well, my mother sometimes.
Yeah.
My mother sometimes, because lockdown has made her a little bit edgy, and that's tough. And she watches the news way too much. So definitely a little bit my mother, but I do love her. And as Larissa, I do love Elias.
Hi. But no.
But sometimes he gets down a dark hole, and he can pull himself out. Sometimes he doesn't, and you have to yank him out, and that can be frustrating sometimes.
What did the question say? What makes you most stressed? Not what makes you most frustrated.
All right, stressed, frustrated, same.
I'm just deflecting as the character.
Yes.
If you could own any one piece of art, what would it be? And I like, yeah, let's take anything logistical or realistic out of the equation there, and just like anything, regardless of size, scale, just ownership.
Just a piece of art, something that I could own.
Yeah, and any kind of art.
The first thing that came to my head, I don't know if it's art, but I really would love a bath made of rose quartz. Just like a massive crystal, just to fill the whole bathroom. Just a bath in rose quartz. Does that count as a piece of art?
I don't see why not. I mean, I've seen a lot of random things count as art, and I think that's got more to it.
It would be sculpted.
Of course, yeah, exactly.
This is the first thing that came in my head, so I don't know.
Have you thought about that before? Because that's a pretty random thing to just put in your head right out of
I am a bit obsessed with crystals, like I think Larissa as well. So maybe that's a crossover.
Maybe. I like how that was your first thing, and like I'm expecting it to be, I don't know, a Rembrandt picture, or like some kind of famous sculpture. I like your.
I think Larissa thinks I think they're a bit too. That's a bit unnecessary.
Too mainstream.
Yeah,
those are unnecessary, but the rose quartz crafted by hand.
I mean, it's like massive healing vibes. That's beautiful.
You got to get more coaching clients. All right, final one. What do you imagine people say when they gossip about you? Well,
I would never imagine people saying anything negative. I would say she just wouldn't. Larissa wouldn't. It's it's a negative, unnecessary path to go down, and it's not how she works.
But does gossip have to be negative? You know what I mean? Like,
well, the word gossip implies, I think,
it does have that connotation, doesn't it? But I mean, some people just like, I read gossip as just people talking about other people without them knowing. Normally, especially in England, it gets a bit coronation. She's like, "Oh, did you hear about Janice? Oh, she's having a baby. Really? With who? Oh, with Keith. With Keith. They're not even together." I know. That's the gossip in England.
Yes. Larissa, what people think of Larissa, she would say, is none of her business, and that's her.
Right. Yeah.
What you think of me is just you pushed out.
Ooh.
So that would be hers.
All righty. That's another thread to pull on, but I think that's a different on a different podcast. Cool. Love it. All right. Listen, final little moment, I guess, to you, if you want to plug anything that you've got coming out or going on, or any shows that isn't this one. Where can people watch the episode of Finding Alice if they can? And then if you want to plug your socials and let them know where to connect with you online, feel free to.
Thanks, Ashley.
No problem, Julia.
I'm very available right now for any work if anyone is looking.
Acting work. To clarify, that's acting work, people.
Acting work. Yeah. If you would like to see me in Finding Alice, I'm on episodes 4 and 6, playing a character called Patty. I'm going to be
That's
filming.
ITV, right?
Pardon?
ITV.
ITV. Yes, it's on ITV Hub, I believe. What else? I'm about to do a little short film called Reverberation Day, which is another kind of COVID lockdown type situation. Little short film. And yeah, and I am waiting for the phone to ring.
And the world to reopen.
And the world to reopen. And for, some more freedom and travel and normality and seeing people in person. I'm looking forward to all that. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm Julia S. Leyland on Instagram.
You don't seem convinced.
I was just thinking, is it? Yes, it is. I'm not very good on social media, I have to say. Must do better. And that's about it, really. Yeah.